100 animals per year. The Pope died when he was 88. How many deaths is he responsible for? Now that he's dead, is the world a better place?
Buckle up, because this is about to be the most tone-deaf video I've ever responded to.
What will people think when they hear that I'm a Jesus freak? What will people do if they find that it's true? I don't really care if they label me a Jesus freak. There ain't no disguising the truth.
Hey everyone, welcome to Catholicism Wow. So due to some recent recording space issues, I'm going to be doing something a little different today. And I might be making more videos like this moving forward until I can find another suitable place to use as studio space. But for right now, we're just gonna do it this way. Don't worry, I'm not gonna be playing Star Wars through the whole video. I've got something else planned. This is just to get us started. So today we're going to take a look at a video from a channel called That Vegan Teacher, called Thank God He's Dead, and she's going to explain to us why Pope Francis is apparently in hell because he didn't support her radical vegan agenda. So let's go ahead and get into it. Fair warning, this video made my brain hurt.
The Pope was a disgrace to Jesus, God, all true Christians, and any other religious or non-religious people in the world.
All right, so let's go ahead and stop right there. First of all, she said the Pope was a disgrace to Jesus, comma, God, all real Christians or all true Christians, religious and non-religious people alike. Okay, first of all, Jesus is God. So that's a distinction without a difference. Now, what she probably meant to say was the Father. And a lot of people do tend to use the word God when referring to the Father, but this video and this lady is so off the rails that I can't say for sure that she actually does affirm the divinity of Christ. She may absolutely deny the divinity of Christ as, completely off the rails as she gets later on in this video. But let's think about what she just said. Basically, if you eat meat, you're a disgrace to Jesus, God, all true Christians, religious and non-religious people. So everybody that doesn't think like her, right? Like if you don't believe what she believes, if you don't have her same beliefs, you're just a disgrace to the entire planet. That is honestly, that's fascist thought. This lady is a fascist. This lady is a totalitarian. And beyond that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but God sanctions the eating of animals in the Bible. In fact, there are places he commands it. So how she's saying that the Pope Francis, may his soul rest in peace, is a disgrace to God for not forbidding something that God himself has commanded, that just doesn't make any sense.
He's in hell right now because he promoted the use of animal-based foods. During many official meals and religious feasts, animal products were savagely consumed or promoted by this disgraceful Pope. The Catholic Church has a long-standing tradition of using meat, dairy, and eggs in its ceremonies and celebrations, none of which Pope Francis challenged. The Pope should have told everybody to stop eating eggs because baby chicks are ground up alive at just 1 day old. He should have made them watch the documentary Dominion.
So I don't know what this documentary is that she's on about, and I don't care to know. I don't plan to watch it. But I don't know what she's talking about. She says that the Catholic Church uses meat, milk, and eggs in our ceremonies and rituals and celebrations. We don't. There's bread and there's wine. Perhaps you could say that the milk and the eggs are part of, being in the bread or whatever. But yeah, like I've never been to mass and we've had a legit animal sacrifice. That's not a thing that Catholics do. So I absolutely don't know what this lady is on about. I know that what she's preaching is eco-terrorism. It's an extreme view. And I don't really know what she's talking about baby chicks being ground up at a day old. That doesn't make any sense to me either, because why would you do that? Why would you kill perfectly good chickens that could be raised to give eggs if they're female, or be raised for meat if they're male? It just doesn't make any sense. And a lot of times, oftentimes, anybody that's extreme, and it doesn't matter if you're an extreme radical traditionalist. It doesn't matter if you're an extreme anti-Catholic on the evangelical side. It doesn't matter if you're an extreme, uh, animal rights person, which this lady clearly seems to be. Extremism is almost always unhealthy, and it's almost always wrong. Like you are almost always incorrect, because you are more concerned with pushing your agenda and your extremism than you actually are with spreading the truth.
The Pope was a terrible example of manhood. Good men protect animals. They don't pay people to rape, kidnap, torture, enslave, and commodify them for a 5-minute meal.
All right, so she's attacking Pope Francis, manhood or whatever, because he doesn't follow her insane radical agenda. And so apparently it's a sign of masculinity now to be a vegan. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that, it used to be considered extremely masculine to go out and do the hunting for the family. But maybe I'm just wrong. But again, we go down to, she keeps wanting to, and she's using all the scary buzzwords. She's making the eating of animals sound like the most evil thing you can do. And to be honest, she is demonstrating evil in and of herself. She is condemning things that aren't condemned by God, that aren't condemned in the Bible, telling people that they aren't manly, that they aren't true Christians, that they're going to hell. None of these things are showing Christian love to anyone. Now, obviously, there is a place for defending the dignity of animals, and we should do that. We should be good stewards of our environment. We should be good stewards of animals, but animals aren't people. Animals don't have the same value that people have. Animals don't have the same dignity that people have. They have their own dignity, and that dignity should be preserved, and that dignity should be protected, but it's not the same as humans, and it's just not. Animals don't have personhood. They don't have what makes us unique and what makes us set apart from the animals. And we see all of this in the Bible. This is all just regular Christian doctrine. So I don't know if this lady identifies as a Christian. I don't know if she identifies as a Catholic. I should point out that while the background of that Catholic church looks artificial, the echo in her video is native to the video. That's not an audio quality problem on my part. That was native. That echo is there in her video. So it does kind of sound like she's recording this video in an empty Catholic church. So maybe she is a Catholic. If she is either of those things, if she identifies as either of those things, a Catholic or a Christian, she's a terrible example of both of them.
The Pope is in hell right now because he blessed the use of animals for food or to be treated as slaves. He should have spoken out against places like SeaWorld and circuses and zoos. He should have spoken out against bullfighting and the rodeo, but he remained silent while billions of animals suffered needlessly under his watch. The Pope has blessed farm animals like chickens, cows, and sheep, not as individuals deserving liberation, but often in the context of agriculture or food production. Animals are not objects to be bought and sold. They are individuals. They are sentient beings who have a right to live and not to die begging for their lives.
All right. So, as I already said, yeah, animals have dignity. They have a dignity all their own, and they have a dignity that should be preserved. They should not be abused. They should not be needlessly tortured. We should not be unnecessarily cruel to animals. But to say that they are individuals that deserve liberation, that's the dumbest thing that I've probably ever heard in the over 2 years that I've been doing this channel now. No, animals are not people. Animals may have some form of sentience, but it's not comparable to the sentience that humans have. And you'd have to define what you mean by sentience in order for it to even apply, in order for you to even make that argument that it applies to animals. So if sentience is self-awareness, yeah, animals have that. If it's some form of intelligence, yeah, animals are very smart. Dogs are smart, cats are smart. Not every animal is equally smart, but every animal is deserving of dignity. And if zoos, if places like SeaWorld, which I have heard, that SeaWorld mistreats its animals, if there are zoos that are mistreating animals, then those zoos should be shut down. Those zoos should not be allowed to deprive animals of their inherent dignity. But to say that they're no different than people is one, it's tone deaf, and two, it's derogatory to people that actually do have a dignity that surpasses that. And yes, animals are our food. Humans biologically are omnivorous creatures. We're not herbivores and we're not carnivores. We are omnivores. We require a balanced diet to stay in a healthy state. And so these people that are hardcore like on these like carnivore diets, they're just as misguided as this lady. Biologically, humans need a healthy mix of both plant-based foods and animal-based foods, because that's how our bodies are designed to function, to live at their peak, right? And again, we see this all through the Bible, all through the Old Testament, all through the New Testament. The eating of meat is not only sanctioned, but in some ceremonies commanded, right? So it can't be inherently evil. It cannot be inherently evil because it's sanctioned by God and sometimes commanded by God. And God cannot command us or even sanction us to do things that are inherently evil. Now, we do see where God, because of the hardness of our human hearts, has allowed things to go on that he personally would prefer we not do, right? Like divorce in the Old Testament was allowed, and that Jesus said in the New Testament Moses allowed that. God allowed Moses to allow divorce because of the hardness of your own hearts. But you're evolved now, you're more spiritually mature, and so now you must understand that divorce is not okay. So, there is a place for spiritual maturity, for the rules to get to change, the rules to become different. As a species, we become more spiritually mature. But it was never said that that meat is inherently evil, that eating meat, eating animals is inherently evil. And again, she's using these scary buzzwords saying that we use animals as slaves. I mean, I haven't been able to train my dog to go get me a beer yet, maybe one day, but as of right now, my dog is not a slave. uh Pets are not slaves. Pets are beloved members of the family, and more often than not, yes, some people abuse their pets, and those people are held accountable for those actions. But for the most part, a pet is treated as a beloved member of the family.
The students and staff here at that vegan teachers school are not woke. However, we acknowledge that the Pope, having been consistently a man over these years, is no longer okay. The next Pope should be a vegan woman.
Well, good luck with that, because while there are no rules against a vegan becoming pope, and the pope is allowed to have any dietary restrictions or dietary preferences he wants, women are ineligible to be the pope. In order to be the pope, you have to be eligible. You don't have to be a priest, and you don't have to be a bishop, and you don't have to be a cardinal, but you have to be eligible to be a priest and a deacon and a bishop. And while deacons, might technically still be up in the air, I don't believe women will ever be deacons. I don't believe that's the will of God. But women are ineligible dogmatically from the priesthood, which makes them ineligible dogmatically from the bishopric, which makes them ineligible dogmatically from being pope. So if you are going to continue to say that, to support the idea of a female pope, then just know that you are in heresy if she actually is a Catholic.
The Pope is a cowardly man who refused to do the right thing, despite having a lot of power to do so. He could have easily encouraged the entire world to strive towards being as vegan as possible and led by example. But this is not what he did. Instead, he endorsed animal sacrifice symbolism. Catholic rituals, even under his leadership, often included symbolism tied to animal sacrifice, example, the Lamb of God, without any explicit critique of animal exploitation. This was shameful, completely disgraceful on his part. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has clearly stated that being vegan is healthful for all stages of development, including brand new babies, teenagers, adults, older people, pregnant women, and nursing women. It is also extremely inexpensive and would help to end so much poverty in this world. So many people, animals, and the planet overall would benefit. So why did he fail to do it? Because he's a coward.
Well, that was a crazy lady rant. All right. So first of all, the language of animal sacrifice that's found in Catholicism and all over Christianity is because that's the language that's used in the Bible. All over the New Testament, Jesus is referred to as the Lamb of God. Why? Because in the Old Testament, it was required that you bring an unblemished lamb for sacrifice, for a sin offering to God. So again, your beef is not with Pope Francis, may God rest his soul. Your beef is not with the Catholic Church. Your beef isn't even with Christianity, to be honest. Your beef is with God. God instituted animal sacrifice. God instituted the language of that animal sacrifice in the New Covenant in reference to the sacrifice of Jesus and the sacrifice of the Eucharist. So the Pope didn't do anything wrong. And the Pope Pope Francis consistently did the right thing. Did he always say the right things? Maybe not in the right ways. Maybe his wording and his verbiage could sometimes leave a little bit to be desired, but Pope Francis did a lot of good in the Catholic Church, and he really left the church better off when he left it than it was when he found it. So yeah, this lady is just nonsense. You could say that in some areas, Pope Francis might have been cowardly. I wouldn't personally say that because I think it's rude and disrespectful, but you could make that argument. This is not one of those situations. At the end of the day, Christianity has no dietary restrictions. Christianity has no dietary laws. In fact, the dietary restrictions of the Old Covenant were done away with by Jesus himself. You know, he says to Peter, what God has made clean, you should not call unclean. And it was Jesus himself that declared all foods, all animals were clean for eating. So, obviously, this lady is so consumed with hatred and malice and evil that she doesn't even actually care what the Bible says. She just wants to imprint her own radical agenda onto God. And that's dangerous. You shouldn't do that.
The Pope should have been braver, but instead, he is in hell right now because he refused to use the power that he had for good in this world. He failed to advocate for veganism, for the innocent victims desperately suffering in an animal holocaust right now, when it would have been a win for everyone. The animals, the planet, and all of humanity. Despite his strong ecological encyclical Laudato Si, which criticized the human abuse of nature, the Pope never publicly endorsed veganism or called for reducing meat consumption on ethical grounds. His focus was more on sustainability and stewardship, often avoiding the moral discussion around animal rights, which was an imperative discussion to have. Not only did the Pope fail to address all of the sexual abuse that goes on within the Catholic Church, he also never spoke out against what's happening to females right now. Female cows are forcibly tied up and impregnated against their will without consent. Their babies are stolen from them and murdered because if they are boys, they're considered to be useless because they will never grow up to be able to produce milk. The dairy industry is a cycle of misery, and the Pope should have spoken out against it and told people to drink plant-based milks from now on. But that's not what he did.
The longer I watch this video, the more offended and upset I am that she's spewing all of this nonsense, seemingly inside of a Catholic church. In the presence of our Lord, right there in front of the altar, in front of the tabernacle, this lady is doing a whole lot that's not going to be good for her, you know, in the future. Now, to say that Pope Francis didn't do anything about the sexual abuse scandal in the Catholic Church is just a lie. Pope Francis did a lot. Pope Francis removed priests that were found to be guilty. He excommunicated some priests that were found to be guilty. Pope Francis did everything humanly possible in that regard. And for somebody who's seemingly Catholic to frame this as only a Catholic issue is, again, it's offensive because it's not only a Catholic issue and it's not mostly a Catholic issue. It's a secular issue more than anything. More child sexual abuse happens in public schools than anywhere else in the country and probably on the planet. So why aren't you attacking the people that aren't doing anything about the abuse that goes on at public schools? And as for Pope Francis not, encouraging veganism, or that's not his place. It's not the Pope's place to tell people what to eat. That's not part of his ministry. That's not part of his purpose. That's not why the Pope is here. The Pope is not here to impose your fascist, radical morality onto all of Christendom. The Pope is here to preach the gospel. The Pope is here to teach Christian morality, not crazy lady vegan morality.
The Pope is in hell right now because he was cruel to cows. He wore leather shoes, and other leather things, which was unacceptable. The Pope wearing leather is wrong because it directly supports the cruel exploitation of cows and other animals in the leather industry. Leather is not just a byproduct of the meat industry, as many believe. It is a co-product, meaning animals are specifically raised and killed, not just for their flesh, but also for their skin. Cows endure immense suffering in factory farms and slaughterhouses where they're confined, mutilated, and ultimately killed for products like leather. Moreover, wearing leather sends the message that it is acceptable to use animals as commodities, which contradicts the values of compassion and stewardship that spiritual leaders, including the Pope, should embody. By choosing plant-based or synthetic alternatives, the Pope could have set a powerful example of mercy and kindness, aligning his actions with the principles of caring for God's creation. Supporting ethical and cruelty-free choices is not just a personal decision, it's a moral one that resonates with the broader call to protect all beings from harm. The Pope was offered $1 million to stop abusing animals. He refused it. Meanwhile, young children everywhere are choosing veganism out of the goodness of their heart, with zero compensation.
Leather is a good industry. Leather is a good industry specifically because animals have dignity. So if an animal is going to be slaughtered for food, then we should use every part of that animal that we can. And we don't use animals for leather that we don't also eat. Sheepskin is used for leather. Pigskin is used for leather. Obviously, cowhide is used for leather. Now, snakeskin is used for leather, and most people don't eat snakes, but some people do. Some cultures eat snakes. So perhaps you could have an argument against using snake and lizard skins, snake and lizard leathers. You could have an argument for, we shouldn't be slaughtering these animals for their skin if we're not going to eat them. But at the same time, if we're going to eat an animal anyway, it's preserving that animal's dignity by using every part of it and not just discarding any of it. So, to be honest, the wearing of leather is actually promoting the dignity of animals.
Time to change your religion like you change your underwear. Change your religion, show God that you really care. Change your religion, wanna try something new. Use your critical thinking skills to question all you eat, drink, buy, think, say, and do. Time to change your religion if it tells you to be cruel. Change your religion if it has a strange or crazy rule. Change your religion, wanna be an atheist, never study what's the point, no matter what is that you don't listen to what all the mean people say. So change your religion like you change your underwear. Change your religion, show God that you really care. Change your religion, wanna try something new. Use your critical thinking skills to question all you eat, drink, buy, think, say, and do. Sing this song and be vegan from now on.
All right, so there's absolutely nothing musically redeeming about that song at all. That song was awful. But let's take a look at these paragraphs that are written there. Time to change your religion like you change your underwear. Change your religion. Show God that you really care. Changing your religion on a whim does not show God that you care. It shows God that you don't care about his rules or his religion that he sanctioned or anything like that. So this is just nonsense. Change your religion. Why not try something new? Well, because what I already have is the truth. So something new couldn't give me what I already have. Use your critical thinking skills to question all you eat, drink, buy, think, say, and do. And that's actually what led most converts to becoming Catholic, is our critical thinking skills. What's important, no matter what, is that you don't listen to what all the mean people say. Everybody that doesn't agree with me is mean. You're all mean. Time to change your religion if it tells you to be cruel. Well, Christianity doesn't do that. Christianity tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves. It tells us to love our enemies. It tells us to be good stewards of the environment. And yes, to treat animals with the dignity that they rightly deserve, but not to give them the dignity of humans, because they're not. We have dominion over them. Change your religion if it has a strange or crazy rule. So is a strange and crazy rule anything you don't personally agree with? Why have a religion at all if you're just going to do whatever you want? Change your religion. Why not be an atheist every Sunday? Oh my goodness. Yeah, why not be an atheist every Sunday? Well, because atheism is wrong. Atheism is incorrect, and I don't want to be incorrect. I want to be correct, and that's why I'm Catholic. Sing this song and be vegan from now on. There is nothing redeeming about that song musically or lyrically. It's all hogwash.
The Pope is in hell right now because he was offered $1 million to become vegan, and he refused it. It was deeply disappointing that Pope Francis declined the $1 million vegan campaign's offer to go vegan for Lent in exchange for $1 million donation to a charity of his choice. This decision was problematic for several reasons. Number one, he missed an opportunity to align his actions with his teachings. Number two, he neglected the suffering of the animals. Number three, he undermined the efforts to combat world hunger. Because animal agriculture is an inefficient system that consumes vast resources, contributing to global hunger. For instance, feeding crops to animals instead of directly to humans is wasteful and exacerbates food scarcity. By promoting a plant-based diet, the Pope could have highlighted a more sustainable and equitable approach to feeding the world's population. So not only did the Pope not give a shit about suffering animals, he also didn't give a shit about suffering children.
How dare you, madam? How dare you profane the name of a dead man like Pope Francis, who was a holy man, and he advocated so much for the poor. He advocated so much for children and widows and orphans and the environment. Pope Francis was a good and holy man, and all you're doing is you're running his name through the mud for your own personal agenda, because, he wasn't what you wanted him to be. He didn't fit into your little fascist definition of morality. This lady, this vegan teacher lady is, and I know I've said this already in this video, but I'm going to say it again because I can't say it enough. She's evil. This is an evil, wicked video, but hold on, it gets better because it's about to become blasphemous too. And as for the $1 million thing, that was a stunt, but again, it would have been inappropriate for the Pope to accept that. It would have been inappropriate for the Pope to accept money, even for charity, even for a charity of his choosing, for something like fasting during Lent. We don't buy and sell holy things. That's called simony. That's a sin. We don't accept money in order to fast during Lent. And so good for Pope Francis. That just shows how Christian and holy Pope Francis actually was.
Jesus is vegan now, and God is too. If you want to get to heaven, you better be vegan too. Fuck milk, cheese, eggs, or any kind of meat. Buy broccoli, tofu, and vegan food to eat. God wants us to be kind to the animals, or it's true, you risk getting roasted on the devil's barbecue.
So apparently God and Jesus are vegan now, despite the fact that neither one of them eats food. Jesus absolutely ate food while he was on earth, but now that he's in heaven, he doesn't require food. And by all indication in the New Testament and the Gospels, Jesus ate meat. Jesus was a Jew, and Jesus participated in the Passover every year, in which they would slaughter a lamb and then eat it. And so this is just blasphemous. And if you want to go to heaven, the song says, if you want to go to heaven, you will be vegan too. So she's making veganism a requirement for salvation. That's just that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous and it's blasphemous.
Number 4 is he failed to inspire global change. As the leader of over 1 billion Catholics worldwide, Pope Francis held significant influence. His participation in the campaign could have inspired millions to consider the ethical, environmental, and health benefits of a vegan lifestyle, fostering a global movement towards more compassion and sustainable living. But he didn't give a shit. But you do. So be better than the Pope. Like, subscribe, and press the notification bell to assure your place in heaven and not in hell.
Yeah, I won't be doing any of that. I won't be liking or sharing or subscribing. I did this rebuttal, and then I'm never going to think about you again because you're awful. And to say that Pope Francis didn't inspire global change is ridiculous. Pope Francis absolutely did inspire global change. Like I said earlier, Pope Francis was a good and holy pope. He wasn't perfect, but no pope is. He didn't do everything maybe that he could have. He didn't always articulate things maybe in the best way, but he was a good pastoral pope. He was a good teacher. He was a good and holy man. He was comforting when people needed to be comforted. He wasn't judgmental. He was loving. He was caring. And he exhibited many of the Christ-like characteristics that we should all aspire to exhibit in ourselves. But you just don't like that he didn't come on board with your radical fascist vegan nonsense. And it is nonsense. And I've shown in this video that it's nonsense. And if anybody is interested, definitely check out the Penn and Teller BS episode on PETA. If you have Paramount Plus with Showtime, it's on that. It's on the Showtime side of the streaming service on the Showtime portal. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I know years ago they used to have like every episode was on YouTube, but a lot of them have been taken down by Showtime. But definitely go and watch that episode on PETA because PETA's an awful organization. PETA's an awful organization, and I know that this lady, the vegan teacher, she did not endorse that organization, but people that feel like her and believe like her often do. And PETA is a terrorist organization, and women that or people that believe like this woman, this vegan teacher, they have a terrorist mentality. They will assault you if you're wearing leather or fur. They do all sorts of awful things. And this woman basically condemns everyone to hell who isn't a vegan. Well, what authority do you have to do that? You have no authority. You have no authority to judge the Pope. You have no authority to judge the dietary practices of other people. Why don't you just make your choices and let everybody else make their choices that according to God we have freedom to make? God does not impose any dietary restrictions on us, and he's not going to impose any dietary restrictions on us, no matter how much you cry about it. So, yeah, this video was awful. It was probably, like I said at the beginning of the video, the most brain-dead video that I've ever responded to. And I've responded to Ryan from needgod.net, so that says a lot. So, all right, everybody, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of this new format. Hopefully I will be able to have a new recording space soon. I tried setting up my green screen in my house, and there's just no lighting in my house good enough for my green screen. So maybe Maybe if I get some studio lights or something, I can start making videos in my den. I don't know. We'll figure it out. As always, I'm very adaptable. So right now, I'm doing these audio only videos, and using the black and white clips from the video I'm responding to. Let me know if you like that. Let me know if you like the video game thing too. I could go back. I've got Star Wars and baseball and Super Mario Run on my phone, so I can make any of those into videos. So just let me know what you think in the comment section. So everybody, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, share it with your friends, share it in your social media groups. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. Make sweet, sweet love to the notification bell. Thank you everybody for joining me. Go in peace and have a nice day.